from a value point of view, the value for me is Blazing Call. So if for whatever reason the Brown Advisory ends up looking that little bit easier because a few of the top ones are out, I think there's a chance they might go there.
Well, that's one way to start a video, isn't it? Hello and welcome to another Antepost Insight. I have been looking at other people's Antepost selections and giving my take on things. Again, like never any in this is it me being done to say that someone's wrong or to criticise anybody or anything like that. It's just to talk about it. I feel like with Antepost selections when they're going out there, and considering there are such an abundance and there are some real good stuff out there, I think it's important to provide a bit of context. A lot of tips are put out there just by the person, particularly me. I do it on my own. I'll just say something and people will obviously potentially have to just take my word on it. I feel like I try and cover as many bases as I can and try and talk about value and different bits and pieces in there, but it is all a perception and it is everyone's individual opinion. In this video, I have put a list up to this side that shows that there are 19 races that have been covered over varying people. So I've done Off the Fence, I've done Leonna's video that's just jumped in. We've done Let's Talk Racing, there is Up in the Ante, there's Ginger Joe Racing, so you've got a load of people on there. There's The Jump Show, there is the Finishing Line, Only Fools Love Horses that managed to get Johnny Deneen on there. So I'm just basically going to quickly go through their selections. This isn't, again, not to knock or to pick anything in there, but basically just to give my view on things, because when there is lots of content out there, it's really good to watch it all, but it also gives you a bit of a clue where murky markets may arise, all those sort of things. So yeah, in the main, I'm just going to give my thoughts on it. Whether you want to hear it or not, I don't know, but it's going out there anyway. So just to quickly finish up on the Leonna thing, like at the end of the day, it's I don't think she's meant to put this horse up for the race. I don't know whether it's, this is not to knock. Like, she's honestly one of the most prepared pundits out there. She knows her stuff inside out. I feel like in this instance, maybe she hadn't prepared so much. And again, I'm just making an assumption there. And it's not to knock, but he ain't going to the Brown Advisories. There's no chance. And then she touches on the fact that there was injury news in November, but then she says that we can throw that out the window because he was good when we saw him last in December. But that's from the year before. And I feel like in these instances, maybe like William Hill that have put this out for her probably could have looked at this before it went out and said, are you sure you've made like a little bit of a mistake? Potentially he's going to pull stuff up. And I've even gone on William Hill's website just to check after, because this wasn't to poo-poo it, but I looked at Oddschecker and they haven't even got him priced for the race. So I went on the website, which I'll stick over the screen while I'm talking now, but they haven't even got him priced for the race. So again, it's not like it's not rookie or whatever, but like it just makes her look bad when it doesn't need to be done. She's got people on the panel with her where someone could have said something to her, and this is why I like the back and forth stuff. That's not to say anybody that's putting content out there is throwing their mates under the bus or anything like that, but it's bad cop for me, to be honest with you. And I don't think, I know she's commented underneath after, but I don't know. Maybe it's to save face, whatever it is. Again, she may genuinely think this is a bet, but clearly it's not. I know you're going to get your money back, so it's irrelevant, but you can't even put the bloody bet on with William Hill, who are the only people in this market who are non-run or no bet. So you can't actually have the bet to tie the money out. But anyway, by the by, I just don't think it should have gone out there, personally. But again, it doesn't matter. We all stick content out there, we all make mistakes, etc. It's just not a good look for her. But at the end of the day, everyone knows these people. Same as the people I talk about in here, everyone will have their own opinions of who they like. Everyone that's got in here, there are good judges. And anyone that puts their face out there and wants to put a selection out, like fair play to you. There's so many people that will comment and all those sort of things, which is still good. I love the interaction, but if you've got the balls to put your face out there, then fair play to you. Like with always with this stuff, there obviously are other people's channels I'll be talking about. I don't want to rub anyone up the wrong way, so I apologise if I do. Anyone's always welcome if they want to have a chat to come on with me if you want to do a video, or likewise if you want me to come on to yours. That's not me fishing to try and get invites or whatever, but just for the fact that I'm happy to say it here on my own, I'd be happy just to say it to your faces as well, or if you want to do a Zoomy recording, we'll do it too. Like I say, none of these are knocks or having to go at anybody, we're just going through stuff. So I'm going to run through it in the order that I looked at them, so there's going to be back and forth. We'll just particularly talk about the shows, and I'll just give you my thoughts on the bets and where we are with all of them. So Off the Fence, Tony Keenan put up 4. He put up James de Burley for the Turners at 10-1. Fair, I think that's fair, because he potentially could be going to that race. Looks like he's going to go there. I do like Mighty Pot for the race. The 10-1 was an okayish price. I think he got it boosted on Ball Sports if he could get on or whatever, but he's going to go Turners or Brown Advisory, but I would say more likely it's Turners for him. So I don't mind that one. Happy days. Galard de Mesnil in the Brown Advisories put up at 8-1. No mention of non-run or no bet in there. And I do understand what you talk about with the race cutting up, but if you've got a horse that's got a real strong chance of winning a race, i.e. he's a 6-4 poke for a National Hunt Chase, why are you then going to change the trip of the horse just because the rest of the horses aren't maybe going there. Like, if you look at the non-runner no bet market for Gard de Mesnil, he's a 9-2 poke, I think, somewhere like that, maybe a 4-1 poke for the Brown Advisory. So you think of the fact there, like, if he was going to go there, that's the sort of price that he would be. Yes, it is better value to get the 8-1 than the 9-2, but he's not definitely going to go there. So, I don't know, maybe some talk around that. Maybe the fact that you could say, if you want to take a punt because it is punty, back him non-runner no bet. I don't think in that instance, like, he might run in there, but he was third in the race last year. He was beaten in it. I don't think he'll go there personally. But again, maybe he advises it in the way that he says it. I just want people out there looking at it, not to go off the back of it, stick a lucky 15 on his 4 of them. Because if you were to do something like that on a race where someone's not going to run, say you had done a lucky 15, it's cost you 15 quid in it, and one of those horses doesn't run, you then lose 8 of your bets. So just talking out loud with people. On the lucky 15 thing, I did put that up on my GG column. I have put up a horse in the Arkle, which potentially lots of people think can go to Turners. We'll touch on that as well. So again, it is within those pieces there that obviously we're putting out selections, you're putting out advice to people out there. You need to trust your own judgment. You've got to go off the back of what you feel and trust what you feel is okay. It's important to look at the exchanges as well, because they'll give you a bit of a feel for markets and where horses may or may not go, whether there is still a cloud of uncertainty about them or whether it is pretty clear which way they're going. He also sticks up Scarlet and Dove in the Mare's Chase at 13-2. I think that's solid. Andrew Blair White put that up right at the beginning of the season, and I said back then it was a fairly solid case. I think he's mentioned it again in this video, so it looks a nice one to me, to be fair. I know Allegory Devassi does look good, but I can see the angle with Scarlet and Dove, and it's not a race that I want to be getting stuck into, but there's nothing to knock in there. Then Favori de Champ though, you'll see if you watch my, did I say it in the last video? I'm sure it is. Yeah, we did. I talked about it with Darren on them in my handicap fancies. I reckon this horse could be a Martin Pipe horse. I know he's run over 3 miles before, but he's got the 4 hurdle races, which will get him into a handicap. He is rated 136 in Ireland. I reckon he could be pipey bound, so we'll find out. But quite a few people have started putting this Favori de Champ though up in the Albert Bartlett. I didn't put the Cheltenham Exchange views in here, but I know John put him up for the Albert Bartlett as well, and you'll see that he features a few times. So personally, I think the horse is, I like the horse. If I think he's got a chance of winning a handicap, which I do, obviously he's going to have to go up, say, £7 or £8. Say Martin Pike, where I've put him up for. Admittedly, the trip might be a little bit wrong for him, but he's 145 rated if he gets into that. To win a handicap, you've got to sort of be £7 well in, maybe. So he's got to run to about 152. So I think the horse is capable of running to a number of about 150-ish. And Albert Bartlett, that could be good enough to win it. But 16-1 about him in a race where I think there could be uncertainty because he has got that low mark. Fair play if you want to back him or not. I don't know whether you want to look in the non-runner no bet market, just for the fact that he is, I don't know, maybe 14s in there or 12s. Haven't looked at the prices, but yeah, I can see people's angle with the Albert Bartlett. I'm talking for my own personal benefit here. I'd like to see if he could squeeze into a Martin Pipe. Obviously, if the mark goes wrong, he will go Albert Bartlett. Would I really fancy him in there? I'm not so sure, but I can see why people like the horse because I like him. Barry Gerrity put up 3 Willie Mullins. Appreciate it for the Turners, which is annoying me because Barry's probably going to be, I wouldn't say a better judge than me when it comes to horses in terms of betting and targets and those sort of things, but he probably is a better judge when it comes to knowing what a horse wants. I am stumped by the appreciate thing, so I'll sort of cover it up in here. He's the best supreme form of any horse, and I know they're different years of Supremes. I know he's a 9-year-old. He's the best 2-mile form of all of the Willie Mullins bunch in there. And I know that we're going to say that Willie Mullins wants to slip him up, and he potentially is the horse that will stay a little bit further. He's only run over 2 miles, bar in a bumper. He might stay, and he does look like in shapes like he's going to stay and all those sort of things, but it's bonkers, isn't it? I think that he's got a proper chance of running well in an Arkle, and you're going to step him up to a trip where he would, in theory, be a bigger price. I think he's about a 9-2 poke, non-runner, no bet for the Turners. He's about the same for the Arkle. So you'd say he'd have about the same chance in both race. But I don't know. I think he's an Arkle horse, which is why I put him in that lucky 15. So it's not like put me off, but the fact that Barry's putting him up is an interesting one. These are the types of horses where I do feel like where there's so much uncertainty about where they're going to go. Whether to advise them as an anti-post bet is a good thing or not. There is non-runner, no bet markets available, of course. And yeah, like we don't know where the definite target is. Like, would you rather just lose the half the price knowing definitely he's going to go to that race? And personally, you have to realise, where do you fancy him the most? If he's been running at 2 miles and his form is at that, you can say they're travelling, they're doing all sorts of different things, but he shot him in a Supreme, didn't he? It might be that he steps up and he does well, but he hasn't been campaigned in that way, has he? So I'm lukewarm on that. It's annoying me a little bit, but you've seen that there. Gaelic Warrior for the Barrymore is 5-1. I think that's a horrendously short price, personally. He is obviously a better horse than when he ran in the Boodles. He did jump out to the right, put me off a little bit. He's gonna have to really have improved quite a bit from last time. I think that form from the last race, I know he won by a distance. There's lots of holes that I can pick in that. I said that in my novice A to Z. I think him at 5-1's a poor price. It's, again, semi-offending me that I guess because of Hermes Allen and the fact that it's Paul Nicholls, lots of people are trying to take him on, and I think he looks fairly good personally. So again, semi-biased. Obviously, Grange-Clay West sort of bombed out in the Lord of the Nace. Champ Card, he goes and wins that race, and people are still sort of lukewarmish on him. Whereas you've got Gaelic Warrior that's won a maiden hurdle and was beaten in a Boodles that's 5-1 for a Ballymore. He just seems awfully short to me. So again, from an advising betting perspective, what's Gaelic Warrior going to have to go and do to be much short on that? Like, Hermes Allen's going to hold up a good percentage of the market, a good 20% minimum of the market. So there's only so short Gaelic Warrior could go. So I don't like that as an advised bet, but personal preference, and I'd imagine a few people are on at bigger prices. Blood Destiny for the Triumph for 14. I do quite like this one. Daryl put him up a while back. He was going to run this weekend anyway. I think that price has probably trimmed up a little bit now. He has got the scope to improve and step forward. And when you look at Lossie Mouth, the price that she is, a lot of people would have already gotten her in the summer anyway. As much as she is the worthy favourite, you wouldn't really want to be steaming into her at the price that she is now, but you may want to look at something that is a bit of value that's going to shorten, and that could be the case with Blood Destiny. He could shorten up. No mention of non-runner, no bet on him, and I would agree with that personally, because I feel like you take the punt at the price to hope that he's good enough and goes and does something. So that's where we are with the off the fence. Let's try and go a bit quicker just to keep it going. Up in the ante, Johnny Deneen put up Am I Right for the National Hunt Chase. 40-1 poke, so you can't really be knocking too many people putting ones up at those prices. I think it's probably worth mentioning, in addition to what Johnny Deneen's touched on with the horse, that the mum of Am I Right is actually a half-sister to Back in Focus, who won the National Hunt Chase. This horse is now only 25-1. Again, the Johnny Deneen factor I can see in there. It's a bit of a swing and a poke in it. But like, its potential is one that could go off a lot shorter, but again, Garde de Mesnil is probably going to run here, and even that Chemical Energy is probably like a much better one. So like, it's a lot of potential. He knows it's a swing. When they're 40-1, you can have a go. He can make enough of a case, so fair play. Dave Jennings put up, I know the way you're thinking for the pipe at 20-1. Again, sort of can see the angle, trainer, connections. Yeah, like sort of lukewarm, but again, you can't really be knocking someone at those sorts of prices. In handicaps is when they start getting to lower points, 12-1 or under. For handicaps, I'm a little bit tentative on this far out. Let's talk racing. Good to see those boys back. A couple of videos a week coming up, so obviously make sure you go and subscribe, get involved with those. You probably already are, to be fair. Jerry Colomb, Josh put up for the Brown Advisory, 9-1, 6-1. Hills, I think. And then he's like, we talk about the races, and we talk about the way that they're going to bet and stuff. He's 6-1 Hills with non-runner, no bet, when he's mentioned about the fact that he could go off a short price. So I would maybe argue, what do you think on that, Josh? Like, would it be that 9-1 Brown Advisory outright's the way to bet? Or would you think that 6-1 non-runner, no bet, considering you think he's going to go off a short price, might be the better bet? Because he may not even go to Cheltenham. And we talk about soft ground potentially being needed for him. I don't think a lot of people agree with that, but I feel like it's a market. We saw when I put that still up that there's lots of people looking at the race. I think it's a market which people are trying to get into. I did say in my video that I think Jerry Clum probably is the one that you'd land on, so I can see why people are putting him up. Whether he's a great bet or not, I don't know. And I feel like not for the betting for the sake of betting, but he's there or thereabouts. Like, you can't really massively mock him, but you don't really want to get stuck in. He's not one of those that really grabs you, but you can see why. He also put up Classical Dream for the Stairs, which is a great shout. There's only two horses at the moment I think you could bet in this race, him and Paisley Park. The non-runner no bet angle again is the potential with him, isn't it? Because they say about the setback, I think they're keeping him fresh as well, which is what Josh says. I reckon Classical Dream even goes off favourite for this race personally. So I think he's a reasonable bet, to be honest with you. Again, think about the non-runner no bet options. Maybe that's what you should know as a person anyway, that horses like him that could be temperamental is what it is, but worth quoting the prices anyway, because a lot of bookies are on the championship races, non-runner no bet. Andrew Blair White puts up appreciate for the Turners, and I know it's an interesting talking point. They both talk about it in there, that Andrew was thinking he probably was an Arkle type horse. Then we're thinking about stepping up in trip. It's the tricky thing in terms of those races. So you think of Galopin Deschamps, for example, right? He's 6-4 to win a Gold Cup. He's going to go to the Gold Cup. Yes, if you ran Galopin Deschamps in the Ryanair, he would probably bolt up in that as well. I guess even if Allahu was running in there. But this doesn't mean that he's not going to go and run in the Gold Cup. So like saying with Appreciated that we think he could run really well in an Arkle, doesn't automatically mean that they're going to go to another race just because he would have a chance in that as well. A horse like an Appreciate would have a chance in both. A horse like John Bon, if someone said John Bon could go to the Turners, if it was potentially an option, then John Bon for the Turners would be a value price. Don't even know what price it is, but you know what I mean. I still think Appreciate is an Arkle horse. I do get the people who are trying to, I don't know, maybe being smart, trying to get him in before he does go to the Turners. It's a risky position to play, I think. Fair play for putting it up, because people are putting their name to it now. So when a good people saying they think these horses are in these directions, but then when they're not putting them up for bets, it's a different piece on there. So again, I can see it. Barry's put him up. Andrew's put him up in there. I see it. I don't want it. I think he's an Arkle. I haven't backed him for the Arkle, but I think he is the best 2-miler of Willie Mullins over fences. So just because the other horses can't step up and trip doesn't mean you force him to do it, because he's got the best chance of all of them anyway, as far as I'm concerned. The Jump Show. Second episode for those boys. I feel really bad because Jake put a Boodles horse up and I thought fair play for putting up a Boodles horse. I can't remember the name of it, but again, don't need to touch that one. It's a handicap one at a price. Fair play. Dan's put up Dart Raven 33s for the Ballymore. Talks about the fact that he won a maiden hurdle that said Gerhard and someone else won. Oh, I want to say City Island, it might have been. And talk about them for going into it, so I can see the line of that. And I did like Dart Raven as a horse as well, to be fair to him. He hasn't been seen for a little while. He talks about him maybe running at Nace the next time, that Journey with Me and that City Island won. I don't know if he can go there, because I think he was a tat sale and it was in between his 2 bumpers, so that auction race is limited to under a certain amount, I think. So again, doesn't really matter, but I think this horse could be Ballymore, could be Abbott Bartlett. She's 33s for the Ballymore. I don't mind him. Again, potentially there's non-run no bet options out there that people would better look at themselves to do in there. Tom sticks up Classic Getaway for the Brown Advisory at 12-1. Again, it's hard in that race because it is so open to have anything negative to say about anything. So there isn't really anything other than the fact we don't see the horse very often, but can't mock it. I know people are looking at those markets, and again, this gives us the thought. The more content you look at gives you the understanding of where people are looking for bets. The finishing line, Sean put up Delta Work for the cross country. Good boy, 2-1. I know they're short, and I know we always feel a bit sick with them, but I think Delta Work's a good thing, myself personally. People say you can't get smashed into stuff. People say about the soft ground as well. Do you remember they kept talking about him in a Gold Cup? If it came out good, he would have a better chance. I like Delta Work. I think he's relatively bomb-proof, and I know it's risky to say. I think he's an okay one at 2-1. Sort of horse you probably do want to start getting a few quid on if you can. And then Andrews put up Hidden Valley Lake for the Albert Bartlett. Again, it's not one to... I don't think to get overly excited about. He's an 8-1 poke. He's got a definite chance in the Albert Bartlett. It's a race that I'm not too excited about. I do love the Albert Bartlett. I say I'm not excited about it. I am excited. I've got one Dawn Rise, and I think I could run one at a price. We know historically that this is a race that you can get involved with on the day. I backed Kilbrickenstorm at 25s after he won at the December meeting. He was 50-1 on the day. So it's one of those where I don't know how much value we're sort of eking out, but you potentially could be, and can't necessarily knock it. I don't want it. That's not what I'm here for. Only Fools Love Horses got Johnny Deneen on, didn't they? They're doing a guests versus the panel nap and an audience nap, which is a nice, decent concept. Johnny Deneen put up Fakir Doodry for the Ryanair. This is about 10-1. He does touch on the fact about if he doesn't go, etc. So he talks about it as a non-runner, no bet position. I've added this onto my GG column. I rate this. I think he is a Rick, got to be backed. I think he's about 8-1, maybe non-runner, no bet now. But it's all around the hype of Alloy, isn't it? So that's fine. Lee's put up Hill Rodotto for the Grand Annual, and I know he knocks it saying it's a Nichols horse, but fair play, mate. Nichols does all right in the Grand Annual, so quite like that one. Trip will be ideal for him. He's 20-1 poke, so like that. Start looking at the handicaps. Harry put up Blue Lord for the Champion Chase, 7-1. I have backed Blue Lord, or I tipped him up for the Ryanair. I still feel like that's the way that they're probably going to lean with him. I know Munir was on with Nick Luck talking about whether he runs at the Dublin Racing Festival, and if he wins that, they may have to think about Champion Chase. Makes me wonder who they're going to run against him in that Champion Chase. I don't think he would win a Champion Chase. I get it. I liked him for the Arkle last year. 7-1's a poke in there. Don't mind it. You could get non-runner no bet, maybe 5 or 6-1 about him. I'm not totally sold on it personally. Like, I think he'd be better in a Ryanair, but obviously if Adaho lines up there, then he's a bit stuffed. But I don't mind. I can kind of see what he's doing, but it's a tough one to take a bet in, and fair play for having the balls to actually put him up, because it could work out quite well. Ash put up Irish Point for the Ballymore, 16-1. I like Irish Point. I think he'd be much better on spring ground. Don't necessarily like the fact that these horses get beat and then we're thinking about going and win at Cheltenham. So I wonder if he's going to be one of those horses that's going to run really well like a second or a third, and we'll all be cooing about him as a novice chaser. I do quite like him. He's 16-1. He's put him up for the Ballymore. I wonder whether he might end up being, or could be, sort of supreme-ish. I know Marina National's in there and Facile Vega, but again, he might not be good enough to win a race anyway. And I don't know if Gordon Elliott will necessarily mind that. He was good stepping up. We'll see wherever he goes, but like, I think Irish Point's a nice horse. I would be waiting until nearer the time to find out for definite targets, things like that, but he's the sort of horse that could shorten up, couldn't he? The audience's nap was Marie's Rock, put up for the Mare's Hurdle. I think it was at 3s or 5s. They put it in there. They said 3s in the video. It's now 5-2 poke. You can see it. Understandable. Fair play. It's one on the board for the audience because she's got a proper chance, isn't she? Ginger Joe Racing Show. I'm going to run through them in the order that they gave them in, and then this will wrap up where we are with it. As I say, it's really good, all the content and stuff that goes out there. I like these collabs. I do like the back and forth. I like the discussion, but of course it then makes it a really, really long video. So that's what comment sections and all those things are for. So please do keep doing that. Not just on my videos, on everybody else's. Put what you think in there of like certain horses and stuff. It doesn't matter that there's a timestamp on there and you may be wrong. That's the whole point of it. We're all allowed to feel how we want to feel about certain races. So Ginger Joe started off with Chemical Energy for National Hunt Chase. I don't mind that. I think he's a steady one. Season goes off short. I know the ground could be a thing for him, but I think he was an okay price, 9s. I think he's trimmed up a little bit since then. Andrew Blair White mentioned him, put up Scarlet and Dove again for the Mare's Chase. Confident on Earth, fair play to him. Trying to remember which ones they came from. I've only written the notes down, but I've got Alex. I think he's from the Cheltenham Exchange. Salvador Salvador Ziggy for the Patomps at 20. That's one of 2 Patomps selections. Well, 2 tips in the Patomps, and they're both for the same one. Josh also put up Salvador Ziggy. Josh has been talking about this horse for a long, long time. Josh suggested 25 to 1 each way. When Alex said it was 20, so they probably recorded it at different times, but he is shortening up. I'm not sold on that one for the angle, but people are putting him up, so it could be wrong. And when you get these ones that do just keep shortening up, maybe you want to get them in the book, which is why it's worth watching these big shows, because they can potentially move markets. And if you want to get someone in your book, you probably should. Bo's put up Chapeau de Soleil in the bumper. I wonder whether he's holding his own ticket and sort of clutching a little bit there, but we'll see. Bumper does look wide open, doesn't look that great so far. I remember when Ballyandy won at Newbury and then went on to win at Cheltenham. I'm hoping for something like that. I reckon a British horse could get in the bumper this time round, but we haven't seen the winner, I don't think, yet. Well, we may have done, but I haven't seen something to say it's the winner, so I'm not really been looking at the race, so can't really want to negative that or negate that. I think people will be happy with him putting that up. Andrew from the finishing line, this one was Jerry Colomb, National Hunt Chase, 14 to 1. He says it's a big risk. He says that he may not go to this distance, all those sort of things. That makes me wonder whether you'd think about non-run and no bet in there as opposed to back him anti-post, but then I suppose maybe the value at the price or whatever. I like the fact that he's talked about it being a big risk, because it will put some people off potentially backing it, because they'll think, well, we'd rather just wait. But he wants to put his voice out there that he thinks that could be the place that he goes. So I don't think he would go there personally, but it could happen. So 14 to 1 is not as if I'm saying he's a single figure price, you're getting it wrong. Like it's about the right sort of price, maybe to take the risk. Joe put up Fakadoo for the Ryanair, 12 to 1. He talks about as the price, which is nothing to do with non-run or no bet. So again, it doesn't matter, but it was almost like his thought was that he fancies him for the Ryanair anyway. And we know that the connections have said that they're going to skip Cheltenham favour with Aintree this season, because that's where they want to go with him. And I do think he only runs in the Ryanair if Allaho doesn't. So I know things could change, but within there it's fine. It's fine to have a fancy of a horse, because if he does run in there, even if Allaho is there, he would probably be able to come second or third to him. So 12 to 1 isn't a bad price. It is maybe just that thought. I don't know whether he thinks that he's definitely going for the Ryanair as a target, whereas I personally think at the moment he only really goes if Allaho doesn't. It would have been an afterthought as opposed to a season-long target, which I think maybe was mentioned. Talked about Josh doing Salvador Ziggy. Ash gave 3 to follow. Good land on the Albert Bartlett. A few good judges of mine told me that he ran pretty well that day at Leopardstown, 29th of December. I haven't seen him to do enough to go and win it, but he's a 20s point for an Albert Bartlett, so he'd be sort of the one you want on your radar, so that's nice. And he's given him as follows, not sort of tips. Common practice for the Boodles. He's going to run this Saturday, I think, against Blood Destiny. Could be an interesting one. Again, an angle into those sort of races I've not really looked at. But his main fancy was James de Burleigh for the Brown Advisory. He mentions himself that he's on at a bigger price. This is where the influence things might start to come in. Like, I've done it all the time. I'll fancy a horse for a race. I'll be getting in my head so much that they should go to a certain place. And then when you financially get invested in that race and that horse, you sort of stick with it. So it's not out of the realms of possibility it goes there. And again, the Brown Advisory, lots of people are looking at it, aren't they? But it's this again where maybe the original thought was the Brown Advisory, which a lot of people have said. Then they're now saying, oh, maybe you'll go turn it off the back of what Daryl Jacobs said, but the Brown Advisory is still there. So whether he's good value or not is open to interpretation. He mentions he's on at a bigger price. I would be interested to know from Ash's perspective, you're on at a bigger price, you've got the ticket, would you still actually be backing now at the price that Joe Public can get on? Because that may make it a different sort of thing, but I still like it. And again, he's put his neck out there, because if he goes in that race, boy, oh, he look good. If he doesn't, then soon to forget, I guess, because you put a couple of others up. But it's fine. Again, not saying that in any way of a dig. People want to know these things. People want to know what people are thinking. Whether you're right or you're wrong doesn't matter. The public want to know what we think. Ian from Cheltenham Exchange put up Zambella each way for the Mare's Chase. She's running it the last twice, isn't she? She does look progressive in it. She could be the muggy each way one for money. I think she's 12 to 1. Don't mind that. Whether she wins or not, I don't know, but you will see. Sean put up Astro Diamond for the Mare's Novice at 6 to 1. Only one that's put something up for the Mare's Novice, and I can see the case for that. Willie Mullins, all those things, probably an okay price. I don't know if she is the winner of it myself, but you can't really knock. Some guy wore a CK Calvin Klein zip top, put a first street in the county hurdle. 14 to 1 non-runner no bet is what he suggested, but he did mention it was as big as 20 to 1. It's a handicap horse, isn't it? I do wonder when you get to those realms like the 14s, 12s, 10s, whether you may be better to find out weights and targets of other horses and all those sorts of things before you get involved. But if you like one, don't you? You want to get involved. And again, the non-runner no bet angle means you do get your money back if they don't turn up. Scotty Rudderham, good boy, put on Mighty Potter for the Turners, says 72 still good value. I would tend to agree. I know we murky market all those sort of things, but I think Potter's the winner of that race. John from the Challenge Exchange, but I love Envoy for the Mares Hurdle, 8 to 1. Don't know what sort of price she is now. Personally, I think I don't know if she has shortened up or not. I'm not sold on her. I think the races that she's been winning are not that good. So she wouldn't be for me, but again, she's an 8 to 1 poker. She could go off short on the day, so is what it is. The close-up guy that videoed, I didn't really close to his face, he didn't say his name. Put the Turners up. Mighty Potter says 4 to 1 best price. Don't know if he is, but Mighty Potter wins. Again, from recording, I think he would have been at one point, but Bet365 has trimmed him up now. Deck from... is either finishing on or under starters orders? Under starters orders, I think. Sorry, Deck. Favre Deschamps, though, I talked about this horse so many times now. He put him up for the Albert Bartlett. Touches on him at 14 to 1 for the Albert Bartlett. I think Tony Keenan maybe got a boost. Again, I can see why people are looking at him for that race. I'm hoping he's a pipe horse, but we'll see. I like the people who talk about the horse, though, because you want to get those sorts of ones on your radar, maybe. And when you see few people talk about the same stuff, they're obviously looking at the same things. We will see. It also gives you a view to know whether you should be getting involved in a horse now or not, I guess, because if you've got 3 or 4 shows talking about the same horse, it's going to contract. Whether they individually have the weight of movement or not, I don't know. But if enough people start doing it, wisdom of the crowd or the following of the crowd, all those sorts of things, it makes a bit of a difference to prices that can influence it. The race in Boyo, the final one, gave Jerry Colomb for the Brown Advisory. So he said 8 to 1. I don't know if he is still 9 to 1 or not, but I don't know whether he is. But again, I've touched on Jerry Clum, and I said like he is probably the one that you'd land on in the hope that he comes here. Don't know if he definitely does come here. Don't even know if he definitely comes to Cheltenham. So we are where we are. So hopefully this has been helpful or useful or interesting to any of you out there. I'm not sure if it is. I personally love it myself. Like I like to know other people's opinions of it. I'm happy with anybody. I'd like if anybody else did anything like this where they were going back and forth with their opinions and stuff. Like I like it. I like the back and forth talking. Obviously, if you've got all of these people on a panel together and you start talking, it would be absolute mayhem. But I like the back and forth of it. I like being challenged if I put something up there because I'm not always right, or I may have a different way of looking at things, or I may not have put it across correctly. But I just think the main thing to reiterate really is the emphasis on how much someone fancies it. As someone that puts content out there, there's a responsibility that I'm giving to you guys at home that I want to let you know if I really fancy something, if I just can make a good case for something, and whether the price is really enough for me to get stuck in. So I feel like I hopefully do a good enough job with that without telling you the bets all the time. I do share on Twitter and stuff when I put some bets up, and when it comes to Cheltenham, I'm happy to share. I've shown my bet loader before with my stakes. It's normally about £25 a point. I've been trying to have a few bigger bets this season, but I'm looking at trading stuff as well at the minute. So I'm a bit in and out with what I'm doing personally from a betting perspective. But I do want to let you know that if I fancy something, I will back it up by putting my own money on. And if not, I don't always get it right, but I'd like to think if I'm getting stuck into something, I'm doing it at the right sort of price. I'm confident in my own ability with it. Not to say that people out there aren't confident in their own ability, because I'm sure they are, but it is. There's a difference between you really fancy something just because you can make a good case for it and then it doesn't quite pan out, or ones that you really, really know are good. Irish Prophecy is the classic example for me. I fancied that, said it was a nap, thought it was a really strong bet. In hindsight, I fucked up because Froden went too quick. The horse could never go the pace, and yeah, but made a big mistake within that one. But it's going to happen. It happens with all of us. And Cheltenham content's just so good because it is the sort of festival fever. Everyone's getting really excited about it. So please, everybody that's putting the stuff out there, I love it. I love watching all this stuff. You're doing great jobs for anyone that's got the balls to put their face out there with it. Fingers crossed we get a few winners out there. Like I said, there's about 40 tips in this video, so I'm sure people would have seen some stuff. Maybe this has confused you even more. Maybe it's helped a little bit. I don't know. And as I said from the top of the show, none of this is to get anyone or dig anybody out. As I say, especially the Leonna stuff, we've used that for the thumbnail. We'll see how much that helps with views, because we've talked about this in the past, didn't we, about things like that. They know what they're talking about. And like I say, it's more a shame in these instances, again, if people talk about stuff or saying things or anything like that, we don't have to get everything right. Loads of us are doing this stuff for free. It's more just the fact out there that we all make mistakes. We're all human. We all research, but it is within that. Like, you want to know the difference between a very well-researched tip or something that you really, really do fancy, or something that you've just plucked out of thin air because you're a little short on time. So I'm going to leave it there. It's currently about half an hour's worth, and I will see you guys on the other side. Thanks for your support. Goodbye.